Welcome everybody to the Canberra Football Show, episode 24. Very glad to be back. Second round, just as exciting for me as it was the first round. Here joining me today is Michael Georgeski, as always, and Jeremy will be joining us for the NPLW part. Michael, how are you today?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Matt. Another weekend of football action across the Canberra region, which is great. A lot of games, and I'm sure, as we'll touch on as we're sort of reviewing round two, there were actually some quality goals as well that was shared around social media. So I mean, we'll get into those a little bit further, but there was some cracking goals over the weekend with all the action that took place. I had my first game of the season as well.
Yeah, I was actually about to say, are we going to discuss your state league this season?
Yeah.
Here we go. So give us the laydown, Michael.
What we experienced for the first game was just pinnacle state league. It was peak state league in terms of right when we were trying to prepare for the game. So we had our first game of the season was at home. So obviously we had to organize like the nets and the flags and set up the field and whatnot. We didn't have a printed match card, so I had to get the physical copy and write everyone's names down, FFA numbers and shirt numbers, and I didn't have like a flat surface to write any of that on, so like it was just jaded writing, and that took about like 10 minutes or so, and then the problems only just continued to go further in terms of we weren't able to unlock our storage room to get the nets and the flags out. Turns out the combination had been changed on the lock before the first game, so we tried getting some bolt cutters to cut the storage room door open. It didn't work, and then the referee rocks up about 10 minutes before kickoff, and he's obviously rocked up and seen that there's no nets and flags, and we've had to just home that we couldn't open the storeroom. And one of the other organisers at our clubs, he wasn't answering his phone, so we weren't able to get a hold of him. So we ended up playing the whole game without nets or flags. We had to symbolise the corners of the field with like bibs. But we ended up winning 3-1. So look,
so it was all worth
not ideal preparation, Matt, but we got the win in the end. That's what matters.
Oh,
you have to make do with whatever obstacles may arise, and we overcame those hurdles.
Well, it's safe to say your state league team doesn't have the organisation of a certain NPL2 club that I want to mention here, but a special mention before we get straight into it. ANU just broke the news about 2 hours ago that they're pleased to announce that they've joined they're going to break away from NPL ACT or Australian competition and join the likes of the European heavyweights and the European Super League. Their announcement, they're going to join Milan, Chelsea, Barcelona, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, Real Madrid, as well as their words, not mine, European Minnows Liverpool in forming the inaugural European Super League. This new competition will see European football return to the Willows for the first time since May 16th, 2015, when the students defeated O'Connor Knights 5-2 in front of a stellar crowd of 26,352 Ducks. When asked whether the condition of Willows Oval will hamper the students' performance against such quality opposition, ANUFC Vice President Lockie Bayliss said, "We've been skinning knees and breaking ankles at Willows since 2010. Tottenham would be wise to leave Sonny at home or else have the ambulance on standby. Please note if you're a representative of European Clubs Association, the ECA, the club is in a meeting indefinitely and consequently are unavailable for a Zoom call this time. Please leave a message at the ANU Sport reception." And they left a pretty good picture with it. So I just want to congratulate ANU. It's been a pleasure covering them since last year. It's glad to see that they've been able to join the elite, because I heard there's a lot of European clubs that weren't even able to join the elite. I guess ANU's reach of being in the top, 1 or 2 or 3 universities over the last 15 years has allowed them to, enter this elite group run by Perez and Agnelli and Glazer.
Yeah, I think, they've obviously worked very hard, and obviously the news broke today, obviously, surrounding the Super League. It's definitely been a whirlwind day in terms of seeing that news break and the backlash that's received. But I mean, look, congratulations to ANU. I can't wait to see them play in the Super League. Thoroughly deserved. There'll be a good representation of Canberra, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just want to say quality banter and Luke Santolin and Yoogali Football Club. You now have some competition for the most banterous Facebook page in the NPL2.
That's right. No,
I think that's our preview video for the week right there. Beautiful.
Yeah, and I mean we could do a whole sort of podcast or segment on the news that broke today surrounding the Super League, but I think we'd break into a fury, I'm sure. So we'll keep a lock on that and stick to Canberra football.
Yes, and talking about Canberra football, Michael, let's get straight into it. What is the first matchup of NPL1 this week?
Yeah, so we had Canberra Olympic up against Belconnen United. Canberra Olympic, I mean, for the first two games of the season, they've been fantastic, haven't they, Matt? They picked up a 3-0 win at home to Belconnen United. Two goals from Crawford and Ihegi in the 94th minute. So it looked like it was a cagey affair right up until just after the hour mark where Canberra Olympic broke away with those 3 unanswered goals. So Matt, like I touched on, they've been fantastic to start this 2021 campaign. Let's get into it. How did Canberra Olympic perform, considering they were coming off the back of that fantastic win against Monaro in the first game of the season? They've only gone and backed it up against Belconnen United.
Yeah, look, Canberra Olympic are on cloud 9 at the moment after another fantastic victory. I was there commentating with Russ on this one. Russ, they were that busy at the O'Connor enclosed. I think they had their gala day. Every team played on there. That by the time we got there was no hot food, no souvlaki, all sold out. So I'm gonna have to shout Russ some souvlaki another time. That's how busy it was. So congrats to them on their clearly successful gala day. But just in general, it was such a cagey affair. I think I predicted a draw last week. And to be fair, for 60 minutes until that first goal from Crawford, I thought to some people after the game from both oppositions, and they thought, yeah, look, until that first goal, I thought it was going to be a deadlock. It just had all the makings of a deadlock. It was tit for tat. Every team, it just seemed like no one was going to break each other down. It was just that close. And then naturally, I think when a match is that close and there's that much of a deadlock, the only way the narrative flows, the only way the floodgates are going to open is if someone makes a mistake. Unfortunately for Jordan Thurtell, it was a very uncharacteristic mistake where he tried to clear the ball out and he accidentally kicked it to Crawford, who I believe it was Crawford that gained the ball because he's the one that scored the goal. But look, it was uncharacteristic from Thurtell, but I guess it just makes sense in terms of the narrative. The only way for a deadlock like that to break is for a mistake to happen. So. But in saying that, though, I'll quickly touch on Belco before we get back to Olympic. Belco probably had the better of the chances in the first half. Mickle had a double chance, which Christus, their keeper Christus, was just absolutely terrific that day. He was just off to the races, made so many great saves. He made a double save from Mickle, one after the other. And Belco probably had the best of the chances in the first half. They'll probably be disappointed that they didn't put away a couple of those, and they probably would have felt like that they would have won the match after that. But it wasn't meant to be. As Olympic, as soon as they scored, it was set up perfectly for Olympic. They were just able to sit back, and then they knew Belco had to, commit numbers forward, and then boom, 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 boom. Olympic were just devastating on the counter attack. And I think that's going to set them up well for their match against Gungahlin, and we'll mention why when it comes to that match. But overall, Olympic were very, very impressive. Once again, they're showing that they're not a team to be taken lightly, and Catnach just must be absolutely over the moon at the moment. The last 2 rounds, they've executed their game plan perfectly. All the youngsters have stepped up. Everyone who's come off the bench has made a difference, and they were quality goals as well. So all cheers around for Canberra Olympic. Do you have any words on this match before we move on, Michael?
I think quickly, just to sort of piggyback off what you just said there about Canberra Olympic, and we've touched on it previously about how well they've actually prepared and played so far this year, and how that's sort of maybe exceeded our preconceived ideas of how we thought they were going to go this season. They've come right out the blocks. They've prepared well, and it's really showing in their first 2 games. And they've had 2 tough games to start the season, obviously with Monaro last week and Belconnen this weekend. That's just gone by. So, I mean, Robbie Catnach is doing a fantastic job. He's had, that last season to really develop the squad and get them playing in a way in which he wants them to. And they're reaping the rewards at the moment, and only time will tell if they can make it 3 wins on the bounce in their next game that you mentioned, Matt. So it's a fantastic win for them, and for, on the other hand, for Belconnen United, it's it's a devastating way to lose, considering it was an error that led to the floodgates being opened in the second half. So they won't be too pleased with the outcome, but they'll be looking to bounce back next week. But overall, it's been a great 2 weeks for Canberra Olympic, most certainly.
It certainly has. And let's move on to the team that they were able to get off to a good start last week in the NPL, and that was Monaro Panthers. Unfortunately for them, they suffered another defeat, this time at the hands of West Canberra Wanderers. Ospina, Colorado, and Cole with the goals for them in the 12th and 64th minute, respectively, and Dominici with a penalty in the 82nd minute to cap off that matchup. And you're going to get into it a little bit, but what a team goal for Ospina, Colorado. You're going to mention it there, but it was the best start Wanderers could have had, Michael. Mm-hmm. And they, obviously, after their loss last week, West Canberra Wanderers will be flying in terms of their confidence right now. Unfortunately for Monaro Panthers, 2 losses on the trot to start the season, not the best way to start.
Yeah, no, most certainly. You touched on it there, Matt. 2 losses from 2. I don't think many would have predicted them having this sort of start to the season, where they're still stuck on 0 points after 2 games, considering, like we've mentioned numerous times, with the addition of Frank Keisha and the players that he was able to bring in. But I think it's just a classic case of that this squad needs time to gel. This squad needs more time to get familiar with each other. I know that most of those players have played with each other, obviously before, primarily at Canberra Olympic, when Frank was the coach there, with the personalities that he's managed to bring from that Canberra Olympic team over to this Monaro team. It is just the case of it looking like things are just going to take a little bit more time to come to fruition. Obviously, I watched the game, and for large majority of it, I think Monaro, you could definitely tell they were a side that are still looking to put the pieces together. There were times where they were struggling to, create combinations of play and get the ball moving. They'd have play broken up by West Canberra, who were fantastic in the match, to be honest. And you touched on how important it was for them to come back after their loss to Gungahlin last weekend, and to come and grab a result the way that they did against Monaro will only boast them well going forward. Unlike Monaro, they've been able to leapfrog or get their season started with their first 3 points. And you touched on the goal that scored by Ospina, Colorado. I mean, it was fantastic play from West Canberra in the 12th minute there to grab the opening goal. I mean, the combination play between the midfield and the defense, passing the ball around to eventually open up the space there on the right hand flank, where Ospina, Colorado then great technique to put that ball at the keeper's near post to obviously give them the advantage. And that just set them well for the rest of the game to obviously cap off the win. Obviously, there were a little bit of nerves in the final 10 minutes, especially when Monaro obviously got the penalty and it was scored by Dominici, but they managed to hold on. They, like I mentioned before, they were sluggish with their passing, and it didn't really help their cause to try and get their season started. It's something that's going to take a bit of time and work on the training ground to perfect. But it's all just a case of when will it eventually gel with this Monaro team. They've got the players to most certainly turn it around and start getting results, but their first 2 games, there could be a slight cause of concern there because we expected a lot more of them. But now that they find themselves in the position where they've got 0 points from 2 games, they'll start looking at each other a little bit more to come up with ways and strategies in order to turn this around. But I'm sure Frank's got the experience to sit down with those players and to get the best out of them. So Matt, what do you make of Monaro's start to the season? But obviously a great win for West Canberra Wanderers, may I add.
Yeah, and just to touch on West Canberra Wanderers before we and Monaro quickly before we move on. I had a chat to Ulysses today, so that should be up next couple of days. But in that, he was very humble. He kept saying it's only round 2. We've got a lot more work to go. But in saying that, though, you can just tell from talking to him how much belief he has in the players and how much work they've put in. As you could see, that team goal alone was just just terrific from West Canberra Wanderers, and something they need is belief. And he talked about how he doesn't like the perception that they're underdogs, but he understands that's the reality. And he said the only way they can change that perception is by putting in performances like they did against Monaro, against all the other clubs. So look out for that one later in the week. And yeah, they did. And they were really good. So, and especially after coming off that loss to Gungahlin, they really pulled it around. In terms of Monaro, like you said, I think it's just all about the chemistry that needs to be built up. And to be fair to Frank, he did say in the interview I did with him at the start of the season that they do need time to gel. They need time to bring the squad together, even though half of them have played together before. They just need that chemistry and that time, and even just the fluency in some of their plays. Some of their plays, it comes off fantastic. Some of them, it just doesn't. You don't see the final product, or it just doesn't have it's good build up, but then once they get to the final bit, it just doesn't get any further than what you think it would. But look, they definitely have the talent, like you said. I think sooner or rather later, they're going to start winning. If it's not against Belco this weekend, though, they're going to be facing Canberra, Croatia in round 4. So we all know how difficult that's going to be. So for Monaro, I'm sure they hope they're going to get some sort of result against Belconnen.
Yeah, I think just before we move on, Matt, I just want to mention that Monaro won't have Jeremy Haptomariam as well. But well, at the least, just for next week, after he received a red card. So he'll definitely be missing that game against Belconnen next week, which will be this weekend, I should say, sorry, which will be a huge loss for them and going forward too.
They should have Calabria back, if I'm not mistaken, because he did get 2 yellows. I don't think it was a straight red. So they should have him back. He missed this game. He should be back next match. But like you said, Haptomariam's a big loss. But in general, I'm not sure. It's going to be very hard to predict how Monaro are going to play this weekend. It's going to be interesting to see how they play. Because when we say, do they need more time? Is it going to click straight away this weekend, or is it going to take a bit more time? So that's the big what if in terms of Monaro. But yeah, to be fair to them, Frank did say at the start of the season, way before this all started, they need time. I know the talk has been about them. Oh yeah, they're going to win the title, or they're going to go straight forward, or they're going to do this, they're going to do that. To be fair though, Frank hasn't. Frank didn't say that. That wasn't the words coming out of the club and Frank. So that's just mostly been the Canberra football talk. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Anyway, Michael, what's our next matchup?
All right, so our third matchup in NPL 1, round 2, was Gungahlin United at home to Tigers FC, the visiting side, getting the 2-1 victory. Gungahlin United opened the scoring through Bernardo Madrid with a scintillating goal. I touched on it just before we, basically when we started the podcast, there were some cracking goals, and that was certainly the pick of the bunch. Before Gungahlin were pegged back through Streaker and a Jack Green own goal 5 minutes before the interval. So, Matt, a crucial win in a way for Tigers FC, considering their loss in the opening round to Canberra, Croatia. How did you see this one? Obviously, there was a fantastic goal to start the game.
Yeah, you described it on our notes here as Ronaldo-esque. So
Yep.
it was. I'll tell you what, it was that good. Bernardo Madrid has been one of the best players in the league for a while now. I saw him in preseason as well. He was very sharp in preseason. He's just such a great player and such great technique on that finish there for that free kick. Gungahlin didn't get the result they would have liked. It was sort of, and they'll be disappointed with the final goal. They like you explained it there, they'll be disappointed with that final goal that went in. Tigers, though, on the other hand, this is a win they needed. I mean, there's no shame in losing to Canberra, Croatia. But they didn't score a goal. They didn't threaten Canberra, Croatia anywhere near as much as they would have liked. So this is the match that they needed to make a statement in, and they got, not only did they play pretty well, they also got the 3 points. So Tigers in that regard, it's a good setup for them as they face Tuggeranong, which I forgot to add in, but that is now going to be on a Thursday, and we'll mention that very quickly due to the long weekend. But in saying that, though, Tigers will be very happy to walk away for 3 points. Ryan Grogan, as we know, has quite the squad that they're amassing there, and it's still going to take a little bit of time for them as well. And let's not forget, this is also a matchup where Tigers have a lot of former Gungahlin players. So if you watched bits and pieces of the matchup, it added a little bit of flair to it. There's a little bit more, intensity in there, considering it's, former teammates facing off against each other. One issue there's a couple issues though coming out of this match for Gungahlin. It's not the loss that I'm mentioning. It's the fact that Jack Green came off injured. He couldn't walk off the pitch. So let's hope it's not too serious. I've heard that he's going to have scans this week. So best of luck to him. And hopefully for him, it's not a serious one, but it's safe to say he'll definitely miss this weekend from all accounts. And his centre-back partner, Abbas, I believe is his name, he got a red card this weekend as well. So that's 2 of their main centre backs that are going to be out. And when I mentioned that Olympic are going to be, it might play into the hands of Olympic. I think this is how it'll play into the hands of Olympic if Olympic decide to sit back and soak up the pressure from Gungahlin and use their youth and their speed to counter-attack. It's going to be hard for Gungahlin already with 2 of their main centre backs out. So it's a shame for them. But in saying that, though, I'm sure Marcel will relish the challenge, and we're going to see a competitive matchup against Olympic this weekend. That's for sure. So Michael, we ready to move on to the next team?
Yeah, so I think just before we move on to the next game, I think the injury of Jack Green, obviously we hope it's not too serious and that he'll return to action sometime soon. Obviously, it's undetermined at the moment when he will indeed be back, given he needs to get scans done. But that's a huge loss for Gungahlin United. That's their stonewall. That's their captain, their leader from the back. It's a huge loss, and I just hope for Marcel's sake that that's not too much of a long-term injury for the season. So it's a big loss for Gungahlin United moving forward. Obviously, it's not the result they would have wanted either. So there are a few negatives to take out of that result. Obviously, losing the game and then to lose your captain as well. And you're not sure how long he's going to be out for as well. Doesn't really boast well for them, but they'll be looking to bounce back regardless. So we'll see if they can do that this weekend.
We certainly will. And the last matchup of the round was Canberra, Croatia 4, Tuggeranong United 1 to cap off. Emphatic way for Canberra, Croatia to cap off their gala day where they reintroduced their name that they were supposed to do last year. I know they were using their name last year, but this is the ceremony they were supposed to kick it all off last year. And this is how they finished it off, with Barac scoring 2 goals, Ugrinic scoring 2 goals, and Slavic scoring an absolute belter of a goal. So much power on that one for Tuggeranong United in the 76th minute. Michael, another stylish victory for Canberra, Croatia. How did this one play out?
I think this is something that we're getting very familiar with in terms of Canberra, Croatia and their expansive style of football. I mean, they're really showcasing why they're the best team in Canberra, certainly for the moment, and why they were champions last year. I think you touched on it there. It was a monumental day in terms of their gala day around the Canberra, Croatia name. Going back to that name and the history that it has, that would have given the players an extra incentive to go out there and perform, and it's exactly what they did. I don't think we could have expected anything less from them, to be honest. They've been such a great side for a while now. So you almost expect them to get 3 points all the time with the amount of talent that they have and the style of football that they play. You touched on it there, the double for Barat and Ugranik. Just shows how lethal they are in front of goal and how quickly they are to capitalize on chances when they're presented in the final third for them. So, I mean, they're a deadly outfit that will look to put 3-4 goals past anyone. And I think the encounter against Tuggeranong was just an exhibition of that. They were too good. It's exactly what they would have wanted, considering they had to travel out to the Nijong Oval last week to play against Tigers, to come back home in front of a home crowd on a monumental day, score 4 goals in the process, just reeks success for Canberra, Croatia, and they'll only be looking to build on that. But I mean, I think the one aspect that you can take away from Tuggeranong's play was that Andrew Slavic goal. I mean, it was a fantastic strike from outside the box, which obviously ruined Canberra, Croatia's chances of picking up a clean sheet in round 2. But I mean, if you're going to concede a goal, you want it to be, pretty special. And that goal was right out of the top drawer. We touched on it before about Bernardo Madrid's free kick, and we had this Slavic special from outside the area. So we just want to keep seeing those sort of goals flying into the top corners on a week-to-week basis.
A lot of contenders for goal of the week this week. There was also one in NPLW we'll mention later as well. That was also a terrific one. One thing I want to say quickly before we move on in this one is I was told, though, in this match, Tuggeranong United did create a few chances, though. So you mentioned the goal, and I guess the positives as well for Tuggeranong is that they can create the chances. It's just more about, building up, just sort of working on the finishing their chances that they do create. And yeah, I do think Tuggeranong, I know that they haven't gotten a victory now in 2, and they're facing Tigers next week, this week, midweek, which isn't going to be easy either. But I think Tuggeranong, once we saw this last year as well, you got to they start a bit slowly, but once they get going, once they start clicking, they got that team unity. And Michael, there were some special mentions for some milestone games, wasn't there, this week in NPL 1?
Yeah, so there was obviously Rush had mentioned it on his social media. Nick Rathjen celebrating his 50th NPL first grade appearance against Tigers FC for Gungahlin United this past weekend. And we also had Tuggeranong's Daniel Felizi also celebrate his 50th showing in this competition against Canberra, Croatia. So we've had back-to-back weeks now where we've had players celebrate their 50th NPL 1 appearances, which is a fantastic milestone to reach, which just shows the numerous talent that we have here in the ACT that have been playing in these competitions now for a while. So to chalk up 50 games is a great feat. And I just want to, congratulate those players and the players that obviously had recently celebrated that we mentioned in round 1. And obviously that has carried on into round 2. So congratulations to those two. And hopefully we have some more in round 3. And I'm sure we obviously will have more milestones throughout the season that we can touch on and shed some light on as well.
I'm sure we certainly will. And let's get into our predictions, shall we, for the week. Let's start with Canberra, Croatia, West Canberra Wanderers, Saturday, April 24th, 3 p.m. at Deakin Stadium. You're going to see a common thread here. A lot of the matches will be on Saturday because, of course, Sunday is Anzac Day. Look, if considering the momentum that West Canberra Wanderers created for themselves, if they were versing any other team, I would I would give them. I probably would predict them to win or at least get a draw. But this weekend they're facing Canberra, Croatia, and as we can see, they're in red hot form. It's going to take something special from any side really to beat them at this point in the season when they're just such great form. So I'm going to go for a Croatia victory, but I'm sure West Canberra Wanderers will give them a good fight, as we saw against Monaro Panthers. They're not to be underestimated.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Matt. I pretty much have those similar feelings in terms of how this match is going to play out. I think Canberra Croatia will just be too strong for West Canberra Wanderers at Deakin Stadium there. So, look, we're looking at a 3 from 3 for Canberra Croatia to start this year, and I don't think any of us would be too surprised at that notion. So, whilst you did touch on there, and I think it's important that if this was against any other side for West Canberra Wanderers on the back of that Monaro Panthers win, I would really fancy them. It was a great win that you'd want to build on. It's just a shame that they're running into the most informed team in the competition. It'll be a great game though. One that'll catch the eye of the neutral. I think there'll be some action in that game for sure. Hopefully some good goals. Let's continue the good goals. So I'm going for a Canberra Croatia win at home there.
Okay, and next up we've got Belconnen United, Monaro Panthers, Saturday, April 24th at McKellar Park, 3 p.m. We mentioned this is the match where Monaro needs to start getting some points on the board, considering they've got Canberra Croatia next week. I think they're probably going to need a little more time to gel, though. I think Belconnen United, just like Monaro, are going to be raring to go. They would have been extremely annoyed that they didn't score, and they could have against Olympic. I mean, despite Olympic definitely deserving the victory in the end. I'm going to go for Belconnen in this one. I just think Monaro probably is going to take a little more time for them to gel. No Hab to marry him either. Yeah, I think this will be a Belco victory, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw either. So, Michael, what's your prediction for this one?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a toss-up between a Belconnen United win or a draw, and I'm leaning more towards a draw. I think Monaro, it's time for them to chalk up their first points of the season. We've touched on the fact that in round 4, they'll be playing Canberra Croatia. And I mean, heading into that game, potentially to maybe have 3 losses on the bounce heading into that is not what you want at all. So they need some sort of foundation to go off for that game. They need a result of some kind, and I think it'll be all square at McKellar.
All right, next up, Canberra Olympic and Gungahlin United. I mentioned before it's going to be a very interesting one. Saturday, April 24th, 3 p.m. at O'Connor Enclose. I'm going to go for an Olympic victory here based on the fact that the way they've set up and the way they seem to, pardon me, the way they seem to approach these matches works for them. They've got a lot of pace, they've got a lot of youth, they've got a lot of intensity, and they're going to sit back and hit on the break. Unfortunately for Gungahlin United, we mentioned Jack Green is out, and his central defensive partner Abbas is out as well with a red card. So considering that, I think this and I think Gungahlin are going to dominate possession. Olympic are going to be happy to sit back. I think this works right into Canberra Olympic's hands, and I'm going to go for a Canberra Olympic victory. But I guess we wouldn't be surprised if Marcel and Chris Cajano over there come up with a different game plan to nullify Olympics counter-attacking capabilities. But I'm going to go for an Olympic victory because, I think that leadership of Jack Green and his center back partner being out as well, both in the same week, doesn't bode well for any defense, let alone a talented defense like Gungahlin United. How about you, Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Canberra Olympic win as well. I think you touched on the defensive frailties that Gungahlin United will have heading into this game. I think that will affect them, especially if they're to have a possession-based style that we're so used to seeing where they dominate possession. But as soon as Canberra Olympic are able to get on the ball and hit on the counter, they'll be most definitely vulnerable to the counter-attack and the spaces that they could possibly leave open for Canberra Olympic to exploit. So I believe like you mentioned, I think there are a lot of factors that play into Canberra Olympics hands at the expense of Gungahlin United this weekend. I think the two contrast in styles in terms of, I think Gungahlin United will have the large majority of possession, and Olympic will just be patient, stay compact, and whenever they get the chance, they'll look to break in numbers and with pace as well. So I see them going 3 from 3 to start the season.
Yep. And next up, we have Tigers FC versus Tuggeranong United at the AIS, I've been told, on Thursday. I don't know the date in front of me, but yeah, on Thursday at the AIS. I'm not sure about the time yet either. I was just told that quite late. So that match has been rescheduled. Tigers, Tuggeranong United, midweek fixture.
Thursday's the 22nd of April.
There we go. So yeah, look, I'm going to go for Tigers victory, but in saying that though, midweek match, freezing cold, anything can happen. But look, and Tuggeranong United will be relishing this one. They know they're definitely the underdogs in this one. And after the last two matches, and in the Belco match in the first round, they on all accounts, they played quite well. They probably were unlucky not to score as well in that one. So look, and obviously coming up against Canberra, Croatia is always going to be tough. Tigers as well, they've recruited very well. This one, I'm going to go for a Tigers victory, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than most people will be expecting. Tuggeranong are always a hard team to face. They're always very well compact. They fight for each other. I don't think this is going to be the time where Tuggeranong finally get points on the board, but I do think it is only a matter of time before they do get points on the board. I'm going to go for a Tigers victory here, but don't count out Tuggeranong.
Yeah, most definitely can never count out Tuggeranong with the squad that Mitch Stevens has there and how hard they work. I mean, that alone can spell an upset for them at any given moment against one of the bigger teams. Just given how hard they work, their incredible work rate, and how united they are as a squad. The change up in this fixture from a weekend fixture to a Thursday night, I don't know, it could ruffle a few feathers, make the Tigers, on edge in a way, or it might affect with their preparation because obviously you're not normally preparing for a Thursday night game and it's a late change, etc. But I think it will be a cagey affair. I think it'll be a lot. I don't think there'll be a lot of goals separating the two sides. I definitely think it'll be closer than what maybe people are anticipating. So I'm going to go for a Tigers win at home there.
Jeremy, here he is.
Hey, Jeremy, how you going?
Good, boys. How you doing?
Yeah, not good. Too bad. We introduced you at the time where we can tell you how the predictions went last week. So let's get straight into it, shall we? NPL 1, this is the cumulative ladder from 1 and 2. So let's leave it this way. After round 1, Michael, you and I had 1-1. One each. We predicted horribly in that first round.
Yeah.
And after round 2, it is 3-2. I'm on 3, you're on 2. So once again, we both didn't do too well in NPL 1 this week.
So I only got one right again.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Yeah, look, it's hard, man.
It's NPL 1 especially.
Predicting these games are hard.
Especially at the start of the season, I guess. We all fared a little better, though, in NPLW. After the first round, it was 3-3. Me and Michael both had 3. Jeremy, you had 2. After the second round, me with 7, Michael with 5, and you, Jeremy, with 5 as well.
All 4.
Matt's the new NPLW expert now.
And I don't commentate on that every week, so there you go.
there's a few like Polish and Eastern European people who have come and contacted me on Instagram to ask me tips so they can bet on the comp. I'll give them your Instagram.
Yeah. It's like those ones on Bar TV in the different languages. They're commenting on the Bar TV, saying. And you're just like, where are these people? Who are these people? Then you realize that they're people. There's probably more betting markers for NPL, ACT, and other countries than there is here, funnily enough. And then we get straight into NPL 2, where after the first round, it was me with 4, you with 3, Michael. And after the second round, guess what? We're all tied up, 6-6. You beat me in that round. You got 3 correct last week for MPL 2 out of 4. And I got 2 out of 4. So now we're all tied up for MPL 2 there. So
well, at least that's a little more interesting.
Yeah, we don't want to break away like we mentioned this earlier on. But yeah, anyway, that's the banter done and dusted for the our tipping comp. So let's get straight into MPLW, shall we? Jeremy. All right, let's start with West Canberra Wanderers. Actually, no, before that, Jeremy, what match are you commentating this weekend before we forget? Sorry.
Otherwise, I'll be at O'Connor at 10:30 for Canberra Olympic versus Belconnen United. Should be a pretty good game. And I actually might also do Tuggeranong versus Canberra, Croatia on Sunday afternoon. I was supposed to do only one game, but on Sunday my restaurant's not open, so I might do a second game on Sunday with Russ.
Yeah, I was about to say, because Russ did message me saying he will be doing that as well. So there we go. I think that's the first call, if I'm not mistaken, with you and Russ together.
Yeah, we actually never did one together. That's true.
Awesome. Well, we'll all be looking forward to that one. So let's start with this week. West Canberra Wanderers 5-0 over. Sorry, Canberra Croatia 5-0 over West Canberra Wanderers. Palombi with a goal, Berkeley with a goal, Gill with a brace on her return, and Chantal Jones with a goal on the outfield. Michael, there was no live feed or recorded footage for this one, was there? So what happened in this one?
Yeah, which was a bit strange. We're not really accustomed to seeing, errors like that occur. But I mean, in essence, it's our job to provide the viewers with what happened with games that they couldn't see. So we're of service now, and so I mean, obviously a devastating win for Canberra, Croatia. 5 goals to the good, a clean sheet, which is always an added bonus. I think it's important that we touch on the return of Grace Gill, who obviously, like you mentioned, Matt, she got a brace, which will boast Herdwell on her return to the Canberra Croatia side. I think from all accounts, Canberra Croatia were very impressive in this matchup, not mess up. They caused all sorts of havoc on the Wanderers. Obviously, we touched on the fact that Grace Gill was back, and I think she is obviously an instrumental part to this Canberra Croatia team and the success that they have going forward. She's a great player, so it's great to see her back playing. Unfortunately, the viewers who were hoping to tune into Bar TV Sport couldn't see that. But nevertheless, she finished with 2 goals. It was a 5-star performance from Canberra, Croatia. Jeremy, do you have anything to add on this game? Obviously, we touched on the fact that the highlight in this was that Grace Gill returned with a brace. We talk about how important she is to Canberra, Croatia, especially as they look to compete with Belconnen United this season. So what were your takeaways from this encounter?
Yeah, I think the return of Grace Gill is obviously very, very important for Canberra, Croatia. Last week, the game that I went to comment against Canberra United Academy, their main issue was scoring goals. They had the opportunity, they just weren't lethal enough in front of goals. So they fixed it. They fixed it earlier in the week during the Fed Cup, the Federation Cup round 2, where they faced Canberra United Academy on Wednesday night, where they won 5-2 and Grace Gill already scored. So they played 3 games during the week. The first one they drew it last week, and then they won the 2 that they played this week. I think Nick Brosnich wasn't too worried after last weekend, because even after rewatching the game, he was telling me our issue is just scoring goals, and I know that we can score goals. So there'll be games where we don't score, and there'll be all the other games where the ball is actually going to go to the back of the net. So 10 goals in a week right now for them in those 2 games. And I think the game for this weekend, I think Canberra, Croatia came ready to face a Wanderers team that's a little bit unknown. We don't really know yet how they play. We don't really know yet what Emma Stanbury is trying to establish with her new squad. So they came ready to blaze and making sure that what happened with Canberra United Academy wouldn't happen again, which is giving them the hope that if they score, they can put them in trouble. So, scoring straight away has done that for Croatia. And then, like you said, when Grace Gill is on the field, what you have for all the players around is just a little bit less nervosity, a little bit more serenity. That the experience is there. You got somebody who's able to lead from the ground up and to tell those girls what to do in the good and in the bad moments. And that's obviously invaluable. So I think the season starts properly for Canberra Croatia once they have all their squad, and now they have all their squad. So it's not to say that they're going to go undefeated again. I think it's going to be a long season, but when you see the firepower they have up front, when you see what a player like Jenny Bissett brings to the team, she was fantastic last week against Canberra United, and Nick told me that she was ill to the point where she had a hard time even going back to the field after the half. They are going to be a really, really strong side to reckon with, and it makes us, look forward to those Canberra Croatia Belconnen and Canberra Croatia Olympic and Gungahlin, because they look like they're going to be really, really good matchups.
Yeah, and Matt, I suppose throwing this to you now, I guess you can delve in a little deeper into the Wanderers not having Tiana Jaber, who was impressive in the back line last week. Do you want to just touch on that?
Yeah, she was away this week. From all accounts, she was very impressive in the back line last week, and they did hold Olympic for quite a while. And between her, Maguire, and Stanbury last week, they all did a great job leading that team. And without one of them, it wasn't the same. And let's not forget, Jaber has played and has recent W League experience, and we all know the experience Emma Stanbury has as well. She only played 60 minutes from all accounts, from what I heard in this matchup. It was always going to be difficult for them without one of their key players, and against Canberra Croatia, who had everybody back this week. And for some of them, like Jeremy mentioned, it was their first match back, so they're always going to be raring to go. And yeah, so it was always going to be difficult this week for West Canberra Wanderers. On and up for them. I'm sure they're just going to move on to the next one. But in terms of Canberra Croatia, they'll feel like this is only the beginning for them, and with the players they have, and Jeremy mentioned on the commentary that we did on the weekend, another goal for Palombi. How many she's going to add to the tally this year? I'm sure that's something you're going to mention on every commentary this year. But she's always one of the favourites for that top scorer role. So yeah, Michael, what's the next matchup?
All right, so the next matchup we have Belconnen United up against Canberra United Academy. And I mean, wow, what a performance from Belconnen United, considering how well we said Canberra United Academy played against Canberra Croatia last week to get the draw. I mean, Belconnen United absolutely put the foot to the pedal in this match, winning 7-1. Goals through Bobbin scoring a first half hat-trick, Bomford and Thornton also getting a hat-trick there with two of her goals coming in the second half, where Canberra United Academy's solo goal came from Christopherson in the 43rd minute. Matt, I mean, we know how good Belconnen United are in the NPLW. It's only 2 games in, but I mean, they look like absolute world beaters in this competition, and I think, is it safe to say that they're the front runners this year?
I'm going to sit on the fence and say they are one of the front runners this year. I just think it's just too early to tell for this competition. I think it's too early to tell, because now after one round, you could have easily said, yeah, Belconnen the front runners, the Canberra Croatia aren't. But that would have been without looking a little deeper and seeing that there was no Gill. And yeah, they just didn't have a full squad. And now that they have a full squad, yeah, it's going to be very, very tight between those two. I'm really looking forward to that matchup. I think it's in round 5. Hopefully you're commentating that one, Jeremy, because that's going to be an absolute cracker. No, you're not. Oh, it's on a Saturday.
He's shaking the head. He's shaking the head.
It's on a Saturday, that's right.
Rusty will do a double header that week.
Oh, that is true. And it's on a Saturday as well. You can't do a lot of the Saturday games. But yeah, so that one's going to be an absolute cracker. So for me, I can't choose a front runner, unfortunately. I'm going to have to sit on the fence there. But very, very impressive once again. Bobbin with a hat trick. She's looked very, very good this season so far. Bomford scoring once again. Michaela Thornton adding to her goal tally if you want to talk about all the goals she scored in preseason. She scored another hat trick in preseason as well, if I'm not mistaken. And some of those goals, absolute crackers, weren't they, Jeremy? I mean, absolutely impressive. And from CUA, I guess it's fair enough to say we're all a bit shocked at this result, considering how well they played against the reigning champions last week. I know they didn't have a full squad, but still, they were very, very impressive in a match that we all thought they would struggle in for intensity. So, sorry, not intensity, sorry, physicality. So, Jeremy, what did you make of this one?
Yeah, surprising. I mean, it's no secret that the reason why I didn't get 4 wins in the Tubin competition is because I thought the academy was going to win this one. Sorry for the Belconnen team. I put the Belconnen shirt to apologize.
Yeah.
But
It's a nice touch.
but yeah, it's surprising, and I've watched the game afterwards, and the academy was neither here nor there. Absolutely. I don't want to say absolutely no intensity. That'll be a bit too harsh, but just always second on every single duel, not able to anticipate the move that Belconnen was doing. Belconnen played really well, did put all that intensity, did make sure that they were getting first and second every single time. But, once you have Kira Bobbin, running down the right wing once, and she's taking 5 meters on 1 meter, that's what's going to happen. So anticipate a little bit better. She's able to score 2 of the exact same goal in the first half, like exact copycats. So yeah, it's a tough one for the academy. Maybe the fact that the academy played those 3 games in a week, twice against Canberra, Croatia, and once against Belconnen, was just a little bit too much for those young girls. Because the team that play not yesterday, on Saturday, is the exact same team that played the weekend before. So it's supposedly girls that know how to play together and that can almost create an upset, like we've seen at Deakin. But I guess Belconnen United is somehow the step higher, and what Belconnen United has that Croatia didn't have last week is when they have an opportunity in front of goal, they don't hesitate. I thought the academy was going to come back into the game. That goal at the very end of the first half sort of put some hopes back in it, and then straight away early in the second half, Christopherson had another chance to score, but the goalkeeper for Belconnen, who was Karen Clark this week, with Christina Esposito, Michael Zakowski put his centre back in between the sticks. She did a couple of magnificent saves. Like, she'd be a starter for 5 out of the 8 teams that we have in the competition. So she was really good, and she has an assist as well for her for the very first goal. So it's also great for Michael to see that he has depth at the goalkeeping position too. But yeah, I think they were just too good, too quick for the academy. And then once you get 1, get 2, get 3 to go and get in the back of the net, it's just hard to bounce back. Even though, speaking to the coaches before the season, the results isn't a priority for the academy, and it's all about learning, and it's all about teaching them how to behave depending on what the game goes. So that's a pretty good learning experience to be 5-1 down at halftime. But yeah, I just didn't recognize the academy from last week. So maybe the 3 games was a bit too much. Maybe Belconnen is just the perfect mismatch for the academy, like they were for Wagga, like you were saying, Matt, yesterday during our commentary. But yeah, it's an emphatic victory for Belconnen. It's great that Michael gets his team to play the way he wants them to play early on. It's great that they can dominate already. It's also how 2020 started for Ahmed Hugo. 2 victory, 8-0 and 7-1 in the first 2 games. So it's not screaming victory too early. It's making sure that the team can play that way for 21 games.
Yep. Michael, any last thoughts before we move on?
I guess just to sort of piggyback off why I mentioned, or why I threw out there, would they be the front runners this season? I think a performance like this sort of encapsulates what I was talking about in terms of, being up 5-0 after 40 minutes. I mean, that's just what they're capable of doing to any team in this competition. It just reeks how successful they've been in this competition for a very long time. They've got the quality, and they're hard to stop once they score a goal. It seems whenever they get one goal, they can just keep on going. And sometimes you don't know when the ball will not find the back of the net sometimes, because they're just that lethal in the attacking third. So, I mean, I think given what we've seen so far, obviously Jeremy touched on it, that it was basically a mirror image of what we saw last season under Ahmed Ugbal, who was coach there last year. So it might, we don't obviously want to get ahead of ourselves, but I mean, when they're in this form, scoring 5 goals after 40 minutes, they're just they're very hard to stop, and it's why they've won numerous titles, WNPL titles, or NPLW, titles to be exact. It's why they've been a successful side for so long. They're just so hard to stop once they get a ball rolling, and once they implement their style of play on teams. And that's exactly what they did to Canberra United Academy. They just shut them out completely, and dominated that game from the first minute right up until the 90th minute.
And Zukoski is certainly building a very, very impressive squad there at Belconnen, and one with depth, like Jeremy has stated. And Michael, our next matchup, Gungahlin United 3, Canberra Olympic 1, Pennyfield with 2 goals, Ella Brown with the other goal, and Ashley Sykes with the goal for Olympic. How did this one roll out?
So it was actually a pretty close matchup from all accounts. Olympic found Ashley Skies in the box, and there is only one outcome in that regard, as we all know. She was able to find the back of the net in the 21st minute there. They showed plenty of bright periods in this game to build upon for the future. It's obviously not the result that they had hoped for after taking the lead in this game, but we have to touch on the talent that they do possess in their team, Canberra Olympic, and they just need to figure it out come next weekend. But on the other side of the equation, Gungahlin had the better of the chances and controlled possession as we would have expected them to for stretches of this game, and obviously that resulted in them scoring 3 unanswered goals to take away the 3 points. But we saw some really nice goals, in particular from Erica Pennyfield's second one in particular. Her first one had a terrific ball over the top for an assist from Stella DeMarco. Gungahlin are just looking very good to start the season, which is always a positive as well. We know the style of play that they possess. We know the talent that they have in their team as well. They've got a good group of girls there at Gungahlin United. So it's a fantastic win for them away from home to stead them well into round 3. Jeremy, how did you see this encounter? It's obviously a great win for Gungahlin United away from home against a very talented Olympic team that we've touched upon, in the lead up to this season.
Yeah, great win for Gungahlin. We're speaking about 2 teams that are hoping to challenge the hierarchy this season, are hoping to go and get the Croatias and the Blue Devils, and so Gungahlin definitely putting out a statement there. I think the game being early this season and being what we've seen, the 2 goals scored at the end to get the win, shows what we sort of knew even before the game. Gungahlin is a team that knows how to play together, that has played together for a while, players that are used to each other and are not going to be surprised for 90 minutes. On the other side, you have a team where 5 or 6 of the 11 starters were in here last season. You have a side where the centre back is actually a midfield, Lara Burdett, and unfortunately for her, she makes the mistake on the first goal to completely fumble her clearance, and that brings a throw-in and the goal from Pennyfield. I think it's just going to take a bit more time for Olympic to get to where they want to be. Sykes was very close to score a second goal in the second half. She took the ball on her side and very messy, just run through the whole ground, dribble 3 players, find herself in the box, and unfortunately, tried that Tony near, but it looked like a second goal was almost done. It'll just take time for Olympic to get there. It'll take for their injured player to come back, and it'll take them time to gel and to matter when it matters. It's repetitive, but yeah, to negotiate a bit better the good and the bad sides of the game. Gungahlin scored 3. They could have scored 7. They had a lot of opportunities. Elke Aitolu, excuse me, had a couple deviation, full of talent, beautiful, that could have scored goal. We almost saw a 100% DeMarco goal in the second half when Natalie gave the ball to Stella, and unfortunately Stella hit the crossbar. That would have been nice. You could have seen Stella DeMarco's disappointment not to score on her sister's assist on that one. But it could have been more severe for Olympic, because Gungahlin on the second half just kept playing their game, weathered the storm, and very, very, very smartly from Diego Iglesias. We know how good he is. Every time that Olympic was starting a counter-attack, Madeleine Percival was dropping down 5-10 meters, anticipating the pace that Ashley Sykes is going to have on those counter-attack, and always made sure that she was here to cut Sykes early on, which is what teams need to do when they're going to play against the Ashley Sykes. And now that we know her, the Zoe Terrys of this world that have that pace and are able to go behind you very easily. And Percival was fantastic in that role. 3-4 times she's making crucial tackles to just cut Sykes or the Andrade, whoever was coming on her way. So I think it's just very well negotiated by Gungahlin. I think it's the experience of Diego Iglesias and the experience of his team that talks on that one. And even if Ashley Sykes might be the most talented player we have in the competition this year, it takes more than individualities. Sorry, and Nicole Beck knows that, to get far in that competition. But it's probably a very, very good lesson learned for Olympic.
Matt, do you have anything else to add on this one before we move on to the final game of round 2?
Yeah, Gungahlin were impressive. Like Jeremy said, some great goals. Like actually, I should probably use this moment to apologize. Last week, that was Jade Brown that scored that fantastic goal, not Elke Aitolu. So my apologies once again. But yeah, and the terrific goal this week from Gungahlin, Pennyfield's goal, absolute cracker there. You mentioned the assist from Stella DeMarco. That was absolutely terrific ball. So we're only 2 matches in, and she's already providing some terrific assists for the Gungahlin attack. That's always a positive sign. Great team effort from Gungahlin. We've seen it from last year. We commentated quite a few matches from them last year, Jeremy. Just very fluid in the way they play. A lot of great rotation there. And you mentioned Percival and how important was, and you mentioned how important it was to cut off Ash Sykes. And I think that was very evident from the one time Ash Sykes did get the ball in the box. What did she do? She immediately finished it and put it in the back of the net. But it's positive to see that they Diego and Alan Marin, as well as also assistant coach there, were able to find a way to sort of negate Ashley Sykes straight away. Oh, and Michael, just let you know, it's, for next time, Ashley Sykes, you kept saying Ashley Skies.
Yeah, I think I did that last year as well.
So I'm just letting you know, just because I forgot to say that last week. So now that I remember to say it, I'll say it this week. But yeah, no, look, very impressive from Gungahlin United. They face Wagga next week, like we'll mention very shortly. But Olympic, like you both said, just going to take some time for them to gel. I'm intrigued to see how they play against Belconnen United next week, because we all know they are in red hot form, to say the least. So, Michael, what is our next matchup?
Okay, and I'll just like to apologise there. Obviously, it's Ashley Sykes. There we go. I'll make sure to get that one down pat, because yeah, I think I definitely had trouble with that one last year, and obviously the narrative has continued on this year. I think you look at the last time, like when you're looking at it, and you just think Skies, but it's Sykes. Okay, so it's no worries at all. We'll make sure. Well, I'll make sure, not we, because
don't put us in that ball, Michael.
No, mate, when one of us go down, we all go down. So no. So anyway, moving on to the last game of the round 2. It was Tuggeranong United up against Wagga City Wanderers. and Wagga City Wanderers finding the back of the net 5 times through. So we've got the goal scorers here with Groya, Compos with a double, Castle with a double as well, and Cameron scoring the 5th goal, and for Tuggeranong United, Terry finding the goal in the 86th minute. I think my pronunciation would have been pretty decent with that one there. I don't know about you guys, but obviously it was a comprehensive win for Wagga over Tuggies. Matt, do you want to we'll get a start on this game? Obviously, it's a great start. A great win. Sorry, for Wagga City up against a struggling Tuggeranong United, but nevertheless, you have to go out there and do a job, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, they certainly did, and I commentated this on with Jeremy, and I should probably say it was actually, once again, it's great to see great weather before we hit into that terrible, usual horrible weather that we associate with football in Canberra this time of year. But yeah, it was great weather, and shout out to the canteen who gave me the last Kransky, and it was Stan Mitchell's son. He's like, I was going to save it for my dad, but it's all right. I'll sell it to you. So shout out to him on giving me that last Kransky. Definitely was a good one. And credit to Stan Mitchell. Stan stood in once again as coach for Tuggeranong United until they find one. From all accounts, I've been told they're not far off one, probably another couple of weeks or even another week. I would assume at least a couple more weeks, probably after the public holiday. And they should have a coach. Just narrowing down their options at the moment. So, so look, Tuggeranong United, they started well. Like they kept, Jeremy will touch on this shortly, but they kept a good solid shape, which they're going to have to do moving forward, especially against some of the bigger sides. And Jeremy will touch on this also, but I thought Zoe Terry was really good. Cassandra Gulliman was really good, and their link-up play together was fantastic. I forgot her name, but one of their attackers, Jeremy will remind me on the name, but she was quite a few off times she was offside that match. The only reason why I mentioned it was because it was like 5 or 6 offsides and she wasn't happy. Strutt did a good job officiating that match, but yeah, quite a few offsides there, but regardless, it just shows the sort of intensity that she has as a striker, that she's always willing to get into the final, trying to get in the final stages there. But yeah, look, Tuggeranong did the best they could with what they had. And by the time Wagga started clicking in that second half, they had quite a few chances in the first half, didn't complete it. We mentioned at halftime that that'll probably be a big part of the team talk for Sam Gray, and they came out absolutely firing. Grau Compost with 2 goals. Her last one was an absolute beauty. Like I said, we have quite a few between Slavic's goal for Tuggeranong United, between Bernabeu Madrid's goal for Gungahlin United, and Erica Pennifield's and this goal here. We've got some fantastic candidates for goal of the week here. So we'll just leave it up to the audience there for that one. But yeah, look, Wagga looked very impressive once they finally started clicking. I was most impressed with Cameron. I thought she was an absolute workhorse in that midfield, and she really kept things ticking, and good to see that she was rewarded with a goal there at the end. Jeremy, what did you think of this one, being the lead commentator for the match?
Yeah, it was a great game. Great to comment it with you, Matt, on the weekend. It was interesting because last year that was the one win Tuggeranong got, 2-0 against Wagga City, and you were wondering if this year Wagga was going to come and be able to do better than that, because last year they looked like they were more talented than Tuggeranong. And this year, to be honest, Tuggeranong, without disrespecting the team that was there last year, looks a little bit day and night. Like there's some real talent. You mentioned Zoe Terry and Melinda Revel up front. I think Ashley Leah Condon in the centre back was really good as well. Really solid centre back, very good sense of anticipation. Maybe she wasn't able to be as good for 90 minutes, but she still had some very solid moment. And Sophie Rolf wasn't too bad in the goalkeeper. A couple of times, she's probably a few steps too forward for her on good. But
yeah, she looked promising though.
Yeah, she did some pretty good save. I mean, she's got experience in NPLW, so you would expect that. But I think the Tuggeranong team definitely looks a bit more promising than last year, and they were playing without their captain Steph Coates and without their lead striker Madi Maji. So with those two girls back, it could be something interesting. Wagga City though is very good. They lost some important player at the off season, and we've seen Kirili Cameron playing this weekend, who was everywhere, just a tireless worker in the midfield. Every time Wagga City was losing the ball, I think she was the one running back and recovering it. Excellent job chasing the ball back. I feel bad because Sam Gray, the coach from Wagga City, called me earlier when I was with my son, and I forgot to call him back. So I would have had more information if I had remembered to call Sam back. But yeah, I'll call him before this gets aired, so then I don't get too much slack. But yeah, it was good to see Wagga City playing. I think they're playing a dangerous game with their high line, with the last defender playing on the line and always waiting for the attackant to come to see if they're going to run behind, because against, like we said before, against Ashley Sykes, against Canberra, Croatia, against Gungahlin, against Belconnen and Kira Bobin, to name just her, it's going to be complicated to defend, because those teams have the experience necessary to counter that plan. So hopefully Sam Gray will change his approach when he comes to those games. But I think it was good to see that the talent is there in the Riverina. We know it, and it's always good to see it being renewed. Obviously, they got Cristina Aguilera Campos back to play with them after she played with Canberra, Croatia for a year, and she proved to be good. Castle is quite impressive up front. I think we see that they definitely miss the pace that Tess Vakari brought last season. Poor Tess Vakari is injured with an ACL, but we've seen the skills that Piper Lockley has, and that's unchanged. Every time she has the ball, danger is coming. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Neither of those teams, in my opinion, right now are on the level of the top four, but they could create an upset of two, especially Wagga when they play home. It's always hard to travel 3 hours for the Canberra teams all the way down to the Riverina. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. It was good to see that Tuggeranong is getting better, that the program is progressing, even though for once there was no for the first time, sorry, there was no Michael Haldred on the bench. But it's going to be it's just going to make it for a better season, I guess.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Piper Lockley as well. Yeah, she can turn players with ease. Like, she was doing that quite a few times that match. And yeah, and Zoe Terry was probably the best on field for
sure.
Tuggeranong United. She was very impressive, a lot of pace there. So don't be surprised if they maybe even push her forward with whoever the new coach is. If they look at her and say, "Oh, her and Gulliman have a great partnership there," we might move Terry a bit more forward, maybe play on the wing or something like that, and Gulliman a little more in the center. But Michael, are we on to the predictions now?
Yeah, let's get into it. The fun part of the podcast, huh? So we've got Canberra Olympic at home to Belconnen United this Saturday, April 24th at 10:30. So that's the game that you're going to be at, Jeremy. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll be at that game with Maddie Moore.
Beautiful. So I'm going to go for a Belconnen United away win. Just sort of piggybacking off their performance against the academy. I expect them to sort of continue that similar vein in form. So I'm going to go for a Belconnen United away win. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, look, I'm going to say the same as well. Belco just look in too good a form. Olympic are going to come. I do think they're going to come good. And they've shown it. They've shown in the past couple of games how good they can be. Yeah, unfortunately for them, they're just running into a side that just looks unstoppable at the moment. So I'm going to say Belconnen. You, Jeremy?
I'll go for a draw, just so that I don't have to do what you guys are doing, and because I'm hoping that it can be a game that's going to be more interesting than Belconnen doing what they can do. I would expect Belconnen to win that game, but yeah, I guess it's a hopeful tip that Canberra Olympic can have a strong start and then can, I guess, focus on defending well against Belconnen rather than having to chase the score, which is almost impossible against the Blue Devils.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's going to be the same sort of scoreline that we saw the last couple of weeks. I just think, Belconnen are just too strong at the moment. But I expect Olympic to put up a very good performance, and probably they'll show more of their defensive capabilities considering who they're up against. What's the next match, Michael?
We've got CUA Academy looking to bounce back from that Belconnen United defeat at home to West Canberra Wanderers. Also this Saturday, April 24th, 4:20 at Hawker. I am going to go with an Academy win to bounce back. I think if they channel that performance, which got a lot of praise from the first game of the season against Canberra, Croatia, I think they'll be in good hands. So I'm going to rely on them to go back to that sort of performance to get a victory over West Canberra Wanderers. What about yourself?
I'm gonna go for a draw on this one. After last week against I understand it was against Belco. Tiana Jaber will be back for West Canberra, so they're going to be a more solid defensively than they were against Canberra, Croatia. And I think, I can see this being a tight matchup. I think West Canberra Wanderers are going to rely on their experience with her, Maguire, and Stanbury as well. I just think they're going to use their experience. They're going to use it wisely. I think it's going to be a very, very close one. I'm going to go for a draw. You, Jeremy?
I'll go for West Canberra win. With what we've seen this week from the academy, I'm a bit, I guess I'm a bit doubtful defensively. This was poor this weekend, and I know that everyone makes mistakes and that they can bounce back. But I think West Canberra is going to use the opportunity of not playing versus such strong team to be able to get their first win. And I'm sure that Emma Stanbury will, make sure that the whole team knows the importance of winning a game against one of the teams that can basically push West Canberra off the top four. I'll go for a West Canberra win on this one. We all have a different one.
There we go.
That's a good one. We had a win, draw, and a loss there. So spices it up a little bit, which is good. We'll see if that trend continues into our next game, which is Tuggeranong United at home to Canberra, Croatia. I'm going to go for a Canberra, Croatia away win. Simple as that. Matt, what are your thoughts?
It's tough. It's tough not to go with Canberra, Croatia. Tuggeranong still needs some more time to gel, and we don't know whether they're going to have their new coach by then. But even if they do, he or she wouldn't have had as long, to prepare for their biggest match of the season so far. In that regard, I'm going to go for a Canberra, Croatia victory here, but expect to see some positive signs from Tuggeranong in certain aspects of play, like we saw this weekend. You, Jeremy?
Yeah, Canberra, Croatia. I think it's hard to put that one past them. I just see a win for the Jikin club.
So we all went from being different to being the exact same. So our final match for round 3 of NPLW is Wagga City Wanderers up against Gungahlin United. Is this one being played on the Sunday?
Yeah, this is one of the matches. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Just because I know that we talked about before about it being the long weekend, and we've had some fixture changes. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's all good.
I think it's only these two matches, the Tuggeranong United and Canberra, Croatia, and Wagga and Gungahlin United. NPL 1 and NPL 2 I'm playing Sunday. Yeah,
okay, fantastic. So for this encounter, I'm going for a Gungahlin United win, just to go off the back of their performance against Olympic, where they were obviously great. They've got a great squad there that will be looking to continue to build. A good push, obviously, towards the top of the standings of NPLW, up against the likes of Belconnen and Canberra, Croatia. So I'm going to go for a Gungahlin United win away from home. What about you, Jeremy?
I'll go for a Gungahlin win as well. I think the experience that Gungahlin has is going to be hard to match for Wagga, even if Wagga is at home and even if they probably feel confident after that win away from home this weekend. I don't see right now the way Gungahlin plays. They're like one of the only teams that is still as good as they were last year because it's basically the same squad. So right now I don't see them being beaten until they face either Canberra, Croatia, or Belconnen. So yeah, win for Gungahlin.
Yeah, I'm going to go the same. Win for Gungahlin for me. They looked very impressive last week and against Tuggeranong as well. You mentioned the chemistry. That's so key. But Wagga, I think will give them a good fight, especially at home. I'm going to go with the Gungahlin United victory. All right. That is us for NPL wrapped up. Jeremy?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much for joining us. More importantly, I hope to see you on in the next week or two again. And anything else you want to say before you go? I'm sure you want to mention something about your Marseille jersey there and how proud you are that no French clubs will be joining this European Super League.
Let's not kid ourselves. The only reason why PSG didn't say yes to the Super League is because the World Cup is in Qatar in a year and a half, and they can't afford to be against FIFA right now. PSG would definitely be in if the money is in.
And they want to win their first Champions League on merit as well.
Which they won't now that this story has broke. Even if they win this year, we're all going to say that that's because this story broke before and the teams were in focus and whatever happened, that star on top of the shirt. Marseille will be the only French team to ever win a Champions League the right way. So
that's right, against Milan. Yep, very impressive.
Sorry for all the other team, but yeah, France, Belconnen, and France, Belconnen, and Marseille today. Now, thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to the games this weekend and looking forward to hearing the whole podcast when it's aired.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks again, Jeremy.
Thanks, guys.
Always great to have Jeremy back on the show. Now, Michael, into one of the fan favorite sections, it's safe to say, of the podcast, the NPL2 section. What is our first matchup?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on it there, Matt. I think everyone seems to love the NPL2 content at the moment. Seems to be sparking the viewership numbers. So we can only say that we appreciate all the love that and support that we've received so far for the NPL2 competition. It's obviously been a fantastic competition provided by all the teams so far. So we can only hope that is set to continue for games now and going forward. So, I mean, to kick us off, we had O'Connor Knights put 5 past Yoogali with O'Rourke finding the back of the net twice, James Ward, McCarran and Glover getting on the score sheet for the Knights. It was obviously a very impressive victory for O'Connor to build off the run of performances and results to begin the season. It was obviously, it was only 1-0 in the first half with Yoogali actually presenting a very good challenge, controlling pieces of play. But Matt, ultimately, O'Connor Knights' quality and talent really shone through. And that's why we ended up getting the 5-0 end scoreline. So, Matt, a great performance by O'Connor. They continue to build on their stock and their desire to reach NPL1, even though we're only 2 games in. They look very good at the moment, don't they?
Look, they certainly do. And at the moment, they are between them and Queanbeyan and ANU as well. And as well, I should just say most teams that have gotten a win or a draw this year, because everyone at times has looked very, very impressive in NPL too. It's just fantastic. But in terms of attacking capabilities between them and Queanbeyan City in the first 2 games, I know ANU won 4-0 as well, but they did play White Eagles, to be fair, than the first match. So not a lot of room. Steve Forshaw doesn't give anyone really a lot of room for goals there. But yeah, they look very, very strong. I mean, 5-0 against a team that was like one of the best teams last year by far is very, very impressive. James Ward again, second, the new signing there with 2 goals on the score sheet in 2 rounds. Very good for him. McCarran, very experienced player at this level.
Was it O'Rourke with 2 goals, or was it James Ward with 2?
No, sorry, I meant 2 goals over 2 matches. Like he scored last week and he scored this week.
Okay, yeah.
And he only signed not long before the deadline.
That's right.
So good to see that for James Ward. In terms of Yoogali though, they played better in the first half than they did in the second half. When it comes to them traveling this year, it's going to be a little difficult, especially to start the season. Like we mentioned last week, they're not as fit because they they're not, and when I mean not as fit, I mean in terms of match fitness. They haven't had the same amount of friendly matches everyone else has. And you saw that on their Facebook page due to their location. So it's going to take a couple of rounds for them to get sorted in that regard. But we saw glimpses of it, especially in the first half. The way they play, their great 1-2 passing between each other. O'Connor didn't play their best. They'll be the first. I'm sure they'll be the first to admit it in the first half. They didn't play. They would probably a bit of sloppy play from their own standards. But geez, they came out in the second half absolutely roaring, didn't they? 4 goals in that second half. And you wouldn't want to verse them at the moment if you were anyone else in NPL2. And we all know their defensive capabilities. They've kept a clean sheet in both their matches. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think any other team has kept a clean sheet besides them this season. So it was very, very impressive in both the matches so far. And yeah, the O'Connor faithful will just be very happy. And let's be honest, this is great momentum for them heading up to the big derby this weekend against White Eagles, which everybody always looks forward to on the NPL2 calendar. What do you think of this one, Michael, before we move on?
I think to talk about that matchup next week, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. O'Connor up against White Eagles. So we can't wait to see what the outcome of that one's going to be, because it's going to be fireworks. Obviously, the historical rivalry attached to this fixture is one that is decorated around Canberra football. So it's going to be, we're going to see a lot of fans out in full force for that one. So I can't wait for that. Obviously, O'Connor have been fantastic to start the season. And Matt, I think that's only just going to continue. And thankfully, we've got a cracking game next week that we'll predict in a little bit more time.
Well, we certainly will. And but regardless, very impressive to beat last year's finalists 5-0. But in terms of Yoogali, they move on to Wagga next week, and both sides, even though Yoogali won in the first round, both sides will be looking for a bounce back victory after this week. And that segues into our next one, as Wagga were defeated by ANU 4-0. Peterkin, that's a familiar name to the score sheets there for ANU. Scored a goal. Carter's scored 2 goals, and Ellis with the other goal for ANU. All-round impressive performance for ANU, wouldn't you say, Michael?
Yeah, they managed to control play from the majority of the game, which is something that they do really well. We're all accustomed to seeing it from ANU. From all accounts, they could have scored more. In doing so, they could have put the game to bed a lot earlier than what they did. This is common. This is a common theme throughout the beginning of the season. A clean sheet, as well as also a plus for ANU. They set themselves up well for what should be a scintillating match against Queanbeyan City this weekend. So I think we touched on it just before there. There seems to be some cracking round 3 matches that we're about to get into. So we'll leave it for then. I mean, on the flip side, another bad day at the office for Wagga City Wanderers. Once again, they are in a transition period that we've touched on before. They'll find it difficult over the next couple of rounds to find a decent enough formula where the players can start playing with one another that will bring results. You can expect them, though, that they won't give up like they did with their FFA Cup performance against Brindis, as an example of that. They face a Yoogali side in the Riverina derby this weekend. So I mean, another great match in NPL2. This is a good weekend to actually watch some NPL2 action. You got some fantastic games for round 3 NPL2, and you got the long weekend as well. I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that, does it?
It certainly doesn't. And just to touch upon that quickly, ANU, you can see they're starting to really, gain. I know it's only been 2 rounds, but if you saw them in preseason, they beat West Canberra Wanderers, I think, in preseason. They put up a good showing against Monaro as well. Conde Pereira is building a really good side there, but I do think if you're impressed with ANU now, I do think you're going to see the best of ANU, later on in the season once they hit the middle of the season. They had more players return this match than they did against White Eagles. It was good for them to get a clean sheet. I think that's important to show their defensive capabilities, especially going up against a side like Queanbeyan City, which we all know have amazing amount of firepower, like we're going to touch on shortly. But yeah, in terms of Wagga City Wanderers, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's still going to take them a couple of games to get into the groove of things, considering the massive amounts of change. But good to see. I think I saw on the their keeper Fry was on the team sheet. he made a return, so that's good for Wagga City Wanderers. But they do have the positives to look forward to, for example, their quarterfinal matchup in the FFA Cup. All right, Michael, the next matchup, the Brindis were in action at Corwell against White Eagles. They lost 5-2. McCarthy, Sandtrack, Reese with 2 goals, and Maxwell for White Eagles, and Schaefer again with a goal for Brindabella, and Leonard with the other goal. Michael, what happened to this one?
Pretty open game from all accounts, Matt, down in Corwell, as you touched on, at Ipen Park. White Eagles took the early lead and doubled it in the first half, while the Brindis fought back and made it a competitive first half. White Eagles kicked back into gear for the second half. They pushed Brindabella back quite a bit, forcing some defensive errors, which resulted in some goals for them. White Eagles, what they did well was, for a good portion of the game, they were able to isolate Schaefer and Lawrence, especially in the second half. Overall, the Eagles looked very good in the second half. It is the sort of momentum they would have wanted, heading into a tough game that we'll touch on a bit later for the round 3 fixtures. I think it's worth noting that Brindy's coach, Zoran Glavinic, was away this week and will be back in the dugout next week. So I think Brindabella obviously missed his presence there on the sideline to really steer that team forward. They continue to show their attacking capabilities even when they don't play as well as, say, what they did in the Queanbeyan game. But I'm sure, and I'm sure you're sure as well, that working on their defensive side of the game will help them move forward, because we know how much of a threat they can be going forward. We've seen it in the FFA Cup and other games as well, that they're able to put the ball in the back of the net. But like we always say, with a successful side, it always starts from the back. You have to be as solid as you are at the back as you are up front. You can't just be a solid side up front and that not be replicated on the defensive side of the field, because you're going to get figured out. So once they figure that side out of their game and develop that, they'll become more of a established outfit and a lot more tougher to beat. Matt, what were your sort of takeaways in this game, if you have any, before we move on?
What you pretty much hit the nail on the head. It was pretty open. White Eagles had quite a few chances. They really pushed Brindis. Like, I heard a few of their goals were sort of capitalized off some Brindis mistakes, which meant that they pressed quite high and with quite a lot of intensity, White Eagles. But Brindis attacked quite well as well, from what I heard. And you mentioned there how great they are going forward. And I do think that I know they didn't play as well this match. Like you said, they played against Queanbeyan. But I do think their attacking capabilities will reap rewards for them very soon. But yeah, White Eagles, I think this is an important win for them. I know last week, obviously, it was always going to be a tough matchup, pretty even against ANU. But like you said, they needed a win heading into O'Connor on the weekend. So yeah, it's both sides seem very good attacking wise, and they'll both be disappointed to concede the goals that they did. And we all know Steve Forshaw, he likes to keep a good defense. He'll be disappointed to let in 2. And I'm sure when Zoran hears back, he'll be disappointed to hear like a few of the goals were made off were some like one of them was a tap in off defensive mistakes. So both stuff for both teams to work on, but I think they're both going to have some really good results this season. All right, Michael, what's our next matchup?
So our last matchup of round 2 for NPL2 was Western Molonglo up against Queanbeyan City. Queanbeyan City proving to be too strong for the home outfit, winning 5-1. Goals to Adams, 2 for Fourier. Yeah, am I saying that right?
We apologize if that's wrong.
That's another difficult surname. I'm really having trouble with these surnames. I might need
It's a conspiracy. I'm accidentally putting you on
a bit
the
of
hard
practice.
one.
I might need to have a chat to Russ, so he can give me a few tips. So he scored a double. Shields and Noveski also getting on the score sheet, and Western Molonglo, Delahi scoring for the hosts. Very dominant from Queanbeyan. We touched on how great they're looking in their bid to gain promotion to NPL1. Granted, it's only been 2 games in, but they're looking very, very good under coach Gabby Wilk. How did you see this one, Matt? Because you went and saw this game, is that correct?
Yeah, I did. And I'll tell you what, Queanbeyan, with all due respect to Western Molonglo, they could have scored 10. I mean, they were just on fire. I think it was something like the first 10 minutes, they scored 2 goals. And they just looked deadly every time they went forward with a lot of pace. And even the players that came off the bench also made an impact. Like Noveski scored coming off the bench. He did very well. Shields, of course, always has been a stalwart in this city for a long time. He also played very well. Just Queanbeyan have to be one of the favorites to get promoted. I know it's only the start of the season, but the way they're attacking so far, and they don't seem to care when they concede because they always know that they can score. And you mentioned how you need to be strong at the back moving forward. But if you can outscore the team, if there's one team that can outscore a team in this competition, it's Queanbeyan so far. Who knows what can happen moving forward? But yeah, they look frightening going forward. And it was just a tough day at the office for Western Molonglo. I mean, they tried to keep it tight, stop Queanbeyan in the tracks. Naturally, that's the way you're going to approach the game. But yeah, all you need is just one misstep, one mistimed attempt at a tackle, and Queanbeyan will be in behind your defense. Positives for Western Molonglo, though, their goal was a very good one. They counterattacked, and Delali, who scored, that was a terrific solo effort. He just, from more than halfway, ran it, great speed, put it in the back of the net. But yeah, in terms of Western Molonglo, they're still missing their new signing, Paketi Manda. He only played, I think, half an hour or something like that against Yoogali. He didn't play this match. I don't think he's available next match as well. He's injured still. So they signed him for West Canberra Wanderers, I believe. And Ned Jeans, their coach, speaks of him very highly. He thinks he's going to be a great asset to this league. He's got great pace, can score a lot of goals. So they'll be looking to get him back in the mix, but I don't think he'll be available next week. And that's key for Western Molonglo, because we all know, despite this match, we all know they can keep a good defensive, put on a good defensive performance. But one thing they struggle to do is put away their chances and also create chances sometimes. They didn't create too many chances, to be fair to them, this match. I know they created more against Yoogali. I did hear that, and I did see it on the live stream. This match, they didn't create too many, but that's been one of their issues last season. They weren't able to put too many goals in the back of the net. So Paketi Manda, when he comes, he's going to be a really good asset for them. But yeah, until he comes back, Western Molonglo they're going to have to keep it tight and continue their defensive displays. But in general, though, they have a great fighting spirit within that side. It's going to be an interesting matchup against the Brindis, because we all know the Brindis don't have that great a defensive capability at the moment anyway, and we all know Western Molonglo can. Brindis, though, have so far scored quite a lot of goals compared to Western Molonglo, so it's going to be interesting. Bit of a contrast there between both sides. But Queanbeyan City, I've said it several times, but they were just so impressive on the weekend, and they're going to face ANU, so let's just get straight into that, shall we? Let's get into the predictions, because it's going to be an interesting weekend. Very, very good matchups here, Michael. Let's start with the Riverina Derby, which we've branded the Riverina Derby. I'm not sure if it's actually called the Riverina Derby, but last year we branded it as that, and that's what we're going to call it. Riverina Derby. Riverina Derby, Yoogali against Wagga City Wanderers. Wagga City Wanderers are the home side. Saturday, April 24th, 2:15 at Gissing Oval in Wagga. I'm going to go for a Yoogali victory. I know the majority of their players will be traveling for this match. From what I've been told, it's only 45 minutes up the road for them. And yeah, Wagga, I still think it's going to take some time for them to find their feet, and Yoogali will be raring to go after. They're not used to losing. They're not used to losing 5-0. That's for sure, especially how they performed last season. And same as Wagga as well. They're not used to losing 4-0 after last year. So both teams, I think, have a statement to prove. But I think Yoogali's quality just and the retention of the majority of their squad, I think that's going to be key for them in this one. I'm going to go for a Yoogali victory. Michael?
Yeah, I'm actually going to steer towards a draw for this Riverina derby, just for the sake of being different, and that I can see it being a cagey affair. It's a derby. There's a lot at stake. You want bragging rights. So just on that basis alone, I'm going to say it's going to be a cagey affair. I don't think any side will break out and really encapsulate sort of any type of big advantage. So I think it'll be a tight game, and I can see it ending in a stalemate.
I agree with
a draw. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with the tie game. Now I wouldn't be surprised if it is a draw, or even if Wagga pick up the victory, because at the end of the day, it is a derby. Anything can happen in a derby.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on. Western Molonglo against the Brindabella Blues. Saturday, April 24th, 2:15 at Woden Park enclosed. I'm going to go for a Brindabella victory here. Mostly based on the fact that, from what I've heard, they've created quite a big number of opportunities. Scape has already scored 3 goals so far, so they look really good going forward. I think this could be a matchup that is very pleasing on the eye. I think Western Molonglo are they're going to be more defensive, but I do think they're going to push forward more than they have in the previous games. They're going to see this as a good opportunity for them to get some points on the board. But I'm going to go for a Brindabella victory. I just think they have more potential goal scorers in that squad at the moment from any sort of position. Schaefer, like I said, has looked really, really good. He scored 3 goals in the opening 2 matches so far, and they've just created more opportunities so far this season than Western Molonglo have. Michael?
Yeah, I agree. I'm going for a Brindabella Blues win. And I guess now that we've got sort of your prediction in, how does your brother feel about you tipping against his team?
Well, let's just leave it this way. As you know, I've talked to you about this before. I'm a Juventus fan. He's an Inter fan. So I'm sure he's pretty used to it by this point.
Yeah. Is it just the opposite? It's always polar opposite.
Yeah, 100%. All right, moving on. We've got O'Connor Knights against Canberra White Eagles, Saturday, April 24th, 3 p.m. at Gungahlin enclosed. This is going to be an absolute cracker, Michael.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, as we all know, between O'Connor and White Eagles. Look, I'm going to go for it's going to be very cagey, very tight, very close, but I'm going to go for an O'Connor victory here. I just think both their wins give them really good momentum heading in. They're in red hot form, and we all know of White Eagles' defensive capabilities. But let's not forget, O'Connor are the only team to keep a clean sheet so far this campaign, and we've seen over the preseason and the first 2 games they've improved a lot defensively. And I think that's going to just edge out the competition. And we all know they can do a lot of damage going forward. It's going to be very close, but I'm going for an O'Connor victory. You, Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to go for O'Connor Knights win as well. I think, like you said, it's going to be a very tight game. Won't be much separated, even though we've talked about how good O'Connor have been so far this season. I mean, I talked about before about the derby that's attached to this, and the the meaning of this fixture historically. You've got the Croatian club up against the Serbian club, so you want bragging rights. If you're a part of those teams, you definitely want to be winning those ones. I remember being a part of those games when I played for White Eagles, and you just talk about it within not only the playing group but the supporters as well, and how much they want to win that game and how much you want to come home with the 3 points. But in this instance, based on what we've seen so far this season, I think O'Connor's just got that slight bit more quality. They've been excellent going forward, and like you touched on, they haven't conceded a goal this year so far. I think we could possibly see that streak broken by White Eagles this weekend. I think that they could get on the score sheet. But I think overall, I think O'Connor's still going to edge this one.
Okay, next one has to be one of the harder ones, I got to say, to predict. Queanbeyan City ANU, Saturday, April 24th, 5:30 at High Street. Or High Street, but it could be
Riverside.
I was told it could be Riverside because I think they've started to do the second batch of ripping up of the oval since it was only laid newly last year. I know, weird timing, but it is the council. Let's not forget. And sometimes councils, doesn't matter where you are, Queanbeyan, Canberra, don't have the best communication in that regard. But look, this is a very hard one to predict. It could go anyway. Queanbeyan could win, ANU could win, it could be a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence for this one because Queanbeyan, we all know their firepower. We've mentioned it and how impressive they've looked. ANU know how to control a game, though, and they are better defensively than Queanbeyan City. They've only conceded 1 goal, compared to Queanbeyan City conceding 3. But Brindis I was told they did have a lot more chances against Queanbeyan than Western Molonglo did. So, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because this match has plenty of different capabilities. Michael?
I think you raised some fantastic points there. And I think, like the other games that this round is providing, they're all pretty hard to pick, to be honest.
All very tight, should be.
All very tight. So I can't really blame myself or you if we have another shocking tipping week. Because this one will be a little more justified.
It seems like at the moment, NPL1 seems to be our shockers.
I just mean,
in general,
that was to happen here. But at least the games are tight, so I wouldn't be too hard on myself. I'm going to go for a Queanbeyan City win. Being at home, wherever that is, whether that's at High Street or if they end up playing at Riverside there. I think what they've showcased so far is the attacking firepower that they've got. They're fantastic going forward. Gabby Wilk, we know, is traditionally an attack-minded manager. I've touched on it before that he typically just outscores his opponent. I think he's not known too fondly of having amazing defensively sounded teams, but in saying that, his sides at Kuma and now, even though it's been a short sample size at Queanbeyan City, they've proved to be excellent attacking teams that always look to go forward, always looking to create chances and play entertaining football. So I think that's going to be the real factor in this one. You touched on the organisation there of ANU and how well structured they are, and how good they are defensively as well, only conceding the 1 goal so far. But I see that being tested to a higher level by Queanbeyan City's attacking firepower, and I think that's going to eventually shine through and see them get the win on Saturday. So I'm going to go for a Queanbeyan win.
It's going to be interesting to see how ANU set up against Queanbeyan City, that's for sure. Michael, thank you very much. Another fantastic show.
Yep.
Like I mentioned several times, we like to go in depth, give everyone their fair due here on the show. Thank you very much. We'll be back with episode 25 next week.